Hey guys, it's Trevor with Red Records, and we're back with part 3 of the Superior Drummer series. We've talked about the drum tab, we've talked about the grooves tab. Now it's time to talk about the mixer tab. And there's a lot to go over in this one. So without further ado, let's get started. So we've got the same kit as before, and I've just went ahead and uh, imported the previous MIDI, the original MIDI for the song. Um, but you could easily make that stuff in grooves. Make sure to check out that video on how to set up your grooves track. Anyway, so let's say you got the drums ready, and now we want to mix them, right? Make them sound even better. Now, if you're using one of these presets that comes with um, the Superior library, you'll see drums and mixer presets. So it has the mixer preset with it, and you can see these EQs and these compressions are put in here for me, as well as the bus sends here. So it kind of expedites that process. But if you are just in like default, right, the default kit will not have anything on the mixer. And even if it does have stuff on the mixer, all of the stuff can be edited, tweaked, and moved around. So at first glance here on the mixer, we've got all of our different tracks here, the buses that it's created for us or that you've created, and our outputs. And if we want to add extra stuff or route our microphones a little bit differently, they give you that option here, route instrument microphones, right? And we can route everything completely different, right? It's just, you know, it's crazy the amount of stuff that you can do in here. Not that you'll ever use this stuff that much, but it's good to know that you got the capability to do so in this program. The first thing that I see up here, I see this top tab. Okay, and let's talk about this. So, in the mixer, you can choose how you're hearing this stuff. Is it post-send, pre-send? Do you want to apply stereo outputs, multi-channel outputs, right? That's how you're going to see all of your drum stuff in your DAW, right? All of the different tracks if you want to mix in your DAW, right? I want to mix in here, though, and keep my DAW decluttered, so I'm not going to apply the multi-channel outputs. I'm going to just do everything in here, right? We've also got our channel effects where we can just disable the effects of one highlighted track, or we can highlight everything, right? And we can just say, okay, just disabling the effects, right? And you can hear it how it would be raw or with it, right? So like these effects that Superior's already done for us does make the drums a lot more beefy, right? And we'll talk about that in a sec. Up top, we can see we have options for visibility. Like, do we just want to see buses? Okay, so you're going to turn off everything else. If you just want to see the mics that are being used, you're going to hide everything else. Um, user mics, this user mic section, that's if you add microphones to the kit that aren't normally in the preset. You can also see those here, okay, once you've created those. So the default is really the outputs, buses, and mics being shown at the same time. You can also edit your visibility here, just show all channels, or not if you want to be quick, right? So over here, we've got our different drums, right? If you didn't want to scroll or anything, you're like, I need to get to the ambience track. Boom, ambience. It's going to highlight it for you. You can edit it from there. Pretty cool. And then you can see the properties next to it. And this properties tab is huge whenever it comes to bleed, right? So yeah, let's try to edit the bleed for this snare top, for example. So right now it's looking like there is no bleed from any of the instruments, right? So what you can do is you can turn on kick bleed, maybe, right? Because the kick's pretty close to the snare. Maybe that rack tom one, and maybe our hi-hat. All right. And now if we solo this snare out, we should be able to hear some bleed. And we do. We do hear the bleed for just that. If you want to hear the bleed for the whole kit, you just turn everything on. And now we get bleed from all of these microphones. Pretty crazy, right? Anyway, let's go ahead and select all, and let's just turn all those off, right? Because that's the normal. way that's superior to set up this preset as no bleed. Me personally, whenever I'm making a drum sound or a drum kit, I like to mix it with a lot of bleed because it does make it a little bit more realistic, right? So keep that in mind whenever you're mixing. But you've got all those options here for each track individually, right? If you want your kicks and snares to have no bleed like they are here, but you want your hi-hats and your cymbals to have some bleed, you can do that here, right? Individually. And you can also um, edit some buses, add buses, route things to buses, make your life a little bit easier, right? But that's pretty much your top bar here. Let's talk about the effects now. Um, or really just these mixer tracks in general. You've got all of your normal mixer window options, right? We can see the bleed enabled. How many mics are have bleed enabled up top here? We can see the numbers. The bleed level, just as a whole general statement. If we wanted these three mics to have just less bleed level overall, we would bring them all down right here with this little knob. We've got our effects enabled or disabled, pans for each of the drums, which are most of the time done for you, how they would be set up, but you can obviously adjust it all like everything else in this plugin. And then you've got your levels and your outputs, right? You can invert your phase right inside of here. It's crazy, right? You can offset your time over here in the right window, right? If you're trying to avoid phase issues and whatnot. Um, and you can even shorten or extend the the like release for your instruments, like your snare, your kick. If you wanted less, think of it like a gate, right? Like you can shorten the envelope of them, right? Make them a lot quicker. Like let's try to shorten the snare here, right? That cutoff's going to be a lot quicker than it would be if it was extended, for example, right? You're going to hear a lot more extra noise. So yeah, pretty crazy effects that we can do here. Now let's talk about the effects that come stock in here, okay? I'm sure you can already see EQ and compression, but we also have some other things to play around with. 5 different distortions, 6 different reverbs, 3 delays, and a bunch of modulation, right? So like if you're going for some more experimental stuff, like maybe we go over here to the whole output and maybe we're going to put modulation on the entire thing. Maybe like a chorus modulation, and we can, we have some simple yet effective adjustments for what we're doing with the drum sound, right? Let's listen to it. It's pretty cool, right? And like it's just all of the plugins that you've seen before, a little simplified, mind you, but they get the job done and they clear up clutter in your DAW by doing it in here. It's everything you need, right? Off, on, right? You can also, I'm sure there's, there's not presets, but you can obviously save presets that you like and then pull them back up for later use. On each of these effects here, you can pull up the window from this little button here in the middle. On any of these, if I wanted to pull up the EQ on this tom, I would pull it up simply like this and adjust the EQ. But yeah, just really straightforward plugins. They're effective. They get the job done. Less clutter, right? And you've also got you can adjust your bus sends here. Where am I sending my stuff to, right? And how much of that, right? So it's really cool. It's really intuitive. That's pretty much everything that the mixer tab has to offer. And you can just see here, like everything is confined in this one plugin in my DAW Superior Drummer plugin, and my MIDI file. And honestly, you don't even have to have this MIDI file imported. It can easily be just inside the plugin itself down here, which we talked about in the Grooves tab video. But anyway, that's the mixer crash course. There is more in-depth stuff you can do with like the routing microphones and like creating user channels, but you can see all of that in the mixer and like user mic tab, right? So explore that a little bit, explore the mixing inside the plugin. You'd be pleasantly surprised with the stuff that you can come up with in there, even though it's not super like expansive plugins by any means. Like it's no Fab Filter plugin by any means, but they are still very good and intuitive. And I just like that it's all in one place for me. right? That's really the selling point with this stuff. But anyway, we've got one more video coming up after this, talking about the tracker tab and then anything else that we didn't cover in the previous videos. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Please leave a like and subscribe if you did. And I'll catch you in the next one, all right? Take care.